This will be my primary camera for filming video during storm season. It's a Canon R6 on a Manfrotto fluid head tripod with the camera body in a cage, which has protected the camera on a couple of times already where it was blown over or knocked over and kept the camera safe. Plus it has a lot of places to attach things. Got a handle attached with a microphone attached on to that, and then a follow focus off to the side. Unfortunately, I could only find one place on this cage to mount my follow focus, so this isn't a traditional place to have your follow focus, but it works for me. The lens I'll use most often is the 24-105 Canon, which is a very versatile storm shooting lens. Something in that range, 24-70, 24-105, whatever. I'm hoping to have a new 5-inch field monitor that'll fit right up here so that I don't have to use the little monitor on the side. My last monitor, I broke the cord and I need to upgrade the monitor anyhow. So I'm hoping I can do that, but everything's expensive, as you all know. But it would fit up right about where my hand is and help me focus good and see what's going on. Well, last week I showed you a little bit of preparing the car to get ready for storm chasing and living on the road for a day or two at a time or weeks at a time. And I showed you a little bit of the camera gear, how I put it in the car and kind of keep track of it in the car. But I thought I'd lay out some things here and show you what I use for storm chasing. And everybody has their own budget, and I by no means have the most expensive stuff in the world, nor the cheapest stuff in the world, so it's kind of in between. But first of all, I have an assortment of lenses. I don't use this big 150 to 600 Sigma very often for storms. It's an f5 to 6.3, but I do use it once in a while on storms. But I also like to photograph wildlife and other things while I'm on the road, and maybe storm chasing one day in one part of Colorado and having to kill a number of hours. I go exploring, so I like to have my wildlife lens with me. A lens I do use a lot for storm chasing, storm photography, is the 70-200 Canon 2.8 lens. That 70-200 is an excellent range. I'll talk a little bit here shortly of what cameras I put what on. Then I also have the 24-105 3.5 to 5.6 lens, and that is my most versatile storm photography lens, both for video and for stills. And I can go back and forth between video and stills rather easily when I have it on that camera there. Then I have the Canon 17-40 f4 lens, which I use a lot for lightning photography with my lightning trigger. Does great pictures that way. And then I have a 10-20 f3.5 Sigma, which I like a lot in storm photography. Can get really sharp images, and when you get right in up to those supercells and want to get really good photos, that's a great lens to go. Same with the 17-40, but I usually have it going on a camera with time-lapse going, so I don't want to be changing lenses. I've got 4 camera bodies here. The oldest one is just a Canon 6D. Then I've got a Canon 5DS, a Canon 6D Mark II, and my newest camera is the Canon R6 mirrorless, which I just love. It's an excellent camera for storm photography for sure, but it's also a great wildlife and landscape lens, although I really like the 5DS for landscapes, but not necessarily dark landscapes. If I'm using automatic focus. The Canon R6 is a great camera for low light automatic focus. So with it, I will pair it with the 24-105 lens and pretty much keep this lens on this camera the whole time while storm chasing. Rarely will I change it because it's a versatile lens for both stills and video. The Canon 6D Mark II, if I'm shooting time lapse, depending on what it is, but I like to use the 70-200 on the Mark II for time lapse, and the 17-40 for lightning, but also sometimes for time lapse. So I pair those with this camera. And I like really high quality, close up, wide angle shots with the 5DS and I keep the 10 to 20 Sigma on it almost exclusively for that. The Canon 6D I use simply for a backup. Sometimes I'll keep a lens on it so that I'm never having to change lenses, because we know in a storm chase you don't always have time, and you don't want to get dirt in the sensors, because that's bad news. So I keep 3 cameras beside me and a tripod ready to go, so I can hop out of the car, get that tripod up, get a camera on it as quickly as possible, and depending on the situation, I will get a time lapse started first, video started second, and be having a third camera with me to be shooting stills. But I don't always have time for all those 3 things. Sometimes I don't have time at all to set up video or time lapse. I just get out of the car and start shooting as quick as I can, stills, and sometimes I only have 20 or 30 seconds or a minute out of the car. Not enough time to set up or do time lapse or video. I'm hoping to get better at getting positioning on the storm so that I'm not always getting hit by the winds or the rain, which is the problem with video and time lapse. Time lapse in particular, you need to keep the camera really steady. I put weights on the tripods. I have old dive weights that I hang from the tripods. Then of course an extra batteries. All 4 of these cameras take the same battery. So I've got 9 batteries, actually 8 batteries. One of the cameras doesn't have a battery in it. So basically I have 5 spare batteries and 2 chargers going in the car, so I can keep batteries being charged almost all the time. Filters are of course important. Filters protecting the lenses, polarizing filters and ND filters are important. I use them a lot. My lightning trigger, I use a Strike Finder too, but they're all good. And lots of memory cards I keep with me in case I need them, but don't usually need to change memory cards very often, but when you do, you sure don't want to need to be fumbling around with them. I use Canon, but these days any brands of cameras out there today are just excellent. I started with Canon, so as I kept getting cameras, I just stayed with Canon. And so far I haven't regretted it. But basically, you can do whatever you can budget in equipment. These are all full frame cameras, but you certainly don't even need full frame cameras to get high quality pictures of storms and landscapes. and you don't need to spend a fortune if it's not in your budget. These are not high dollar lenses, or at least not extremely high dollar lenses, but they're good lenses. Then I also have an assortment of tools that I keep with me in the car. Lots of various accessories. Some I showed on the camera, like the follow focus and the handle. The camera that I use the video with, the R6 mirrorless, I have a cage around it attached to it, and you can attach all kinds of things to the cage. So a handle goes up there, and you can attach the external mic to the handle. The follow focus can attach to this rod here, and there are a variety of things that can attach at different places to the cage. But the cage also acts as protection for the camera. I had an incident with the camera in Oregon last year where I tripped on the sidewalk and the camera was on my tripod, and I had a backpack on, and I was top heavy, and I just went right over and the camera hit concrete. And I thought, oh no, the cage saved it. Got a little scuff on the corner of the camera body, big scuff on the cage, but no damage whatsoever to the camera function. More damage to my pride, and I got pretty banged up. Got a permanent scar on my knee. Something I use sometimes in lightning photography in particular is this waterproof bag that can go over the camera and the lens to protect it in the rain, because often it's just raining lightly on the edge of the storm. So I use that sometimes, but it's kind of awkward to deal with, particularly if you want to put it on or off quickly. Then there are lots of various accessories, and I have a whole big container of accessories back here with more things, some that I use once in a while, some that I use a lot. But a few basic tools are important, and whatever Allen wrenches you need. I have a variety of Allen wrenches that have to be used with this camera and its cage and the attachments. So, places to keep the cords separate, batteries separate. Need 9-volt batteries for the strike finder. And it's important to have good batteries in there. And that's about it. So I'm ready to get out storm chasing. How about you? Until next time.